Howdy, folks. It's me again, Amanda Anderman, your trusty tour guide in the wonders of the wonderful city, also known as Rio de Janeiro. You're probably wondering why I have this hat, pigtails, and fake freckles. This is because on this video, I'm gonna tell you all about the history of a party that happens every year in Rio as well as all over Brazil, which a lot of foreigners ignore because you're too busy always associating Rio with Carnival, so you think it's all about Carnival all year long. And incidentally, this is why the title says it's not all about Carnival. I'm gonna tell you all about the history of the Brazilian June parties. They happen in the month of June traditionally, but oftentimes, because it's such a good party, and here in Brazil we love a good party, normally it's extended until July, sometimes even August, and sometimes even September. But before I go right on to the theme of the video, I have to remind you that I'm currently offering walking tours through the city of Rio, and all of them are described on my website, which the link will be in the description box below, as well as in the first fixed comment. So all you have to do is click there, text me via WhatsApp, make your reservations, and let's get to know the city of Rio in person with yours truly as your tour guide, of course. So now, without further ado, let's hop on to the theme of our video. When it comes to June parties, it all began in the Northern Hemisphere. And in order to narrate the whole story, I'm gonna have to go way back in time, a lot further than I normally do, to the Neolithic period. Back when humanity decided to stop with that lifestyle of being nomads, moving from one place to another in search of food, and decided to settle down and live in the same place all year long. Americans, and especially Europeans watching this video, you know all about this. Maybe you've forgotten, but deep down inside, you know it. You know a lot of the things that I'm gonna say here. You know, for instance, that there are certain months of the year, namely November, December, January, and February, where it's impossible to harvest anything, or even less, to plant anything. So way back in the Neolithic period, when humanity decided to settle down, they quickly noticed that in certain parts of the year, we're gonna be without food if we don't put our thinking caps on. And in certain parts of the year, there is food. So for this very reason, they switched as well from being hunter-gatherers to agriculture. Also because a hunter-gatherer needs a lot more surface area in order to provide for himself than a farmer. A farmer needs only 1/10 of what a hunter-gatherer needs. However, you have to be very much aware, especially if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, and even more especially if you happen to be in Europe, of the correct time to plant and the correct time to harvest. Because during the winter months, before industrialization, all you had to sustain yourself for all those 4 long months was whatever you were able to harvest in August and September. So in March and April, everyone's busy plowing and putting the seeds and then covering the seeds back again with earth, and it's a lot of work. And then in August and September, sometimes even in October, people are busy harvesting, which is even more work and under the hot sun. And in November, December, January, and February, everyone's worried about making the food last. So that only leaves us with May, June, and sometimes July, so that we can have fun. And especially this time of year was the time in which couples were formed in order to bear children. Because if there is one crucial difference between adopting agriculture and being a hunter-gatherer and nomadic and what have you, is that when you are a nomadic hunter-gatherer, you have to walk back and forth in search of food, so you can only have as much children as you are able to carry. However, when you switch to agriculture, it's the opposite. The more, the better, because you need a lot of people to plow, to put the seeds and then to harvest. And even young children can help with the harvest. At least they can sit down and crush the grains and also help their mothers in the kitchen to make porridges. So May, June, and July was the time to form couples, marry those couples, or even not marry, depending on the tribe. There were several tribes with different customs, of course. Or even, plain and simple, have fun. Go out to party. The days are becoming longer, and it will reach its peak in June 21st in the Northern Hemisphere. The sun is out for longer, so it's time to party, it's time to dance, it's time to flirt, it's time for romance. Oh my goodness, it even rhymed. All of this was all the same until there came in the picture the idea of only one God. Because you see, before that, people were very much aware of these dates because they had gods and goddesses associated with these dates. When it was the time to plant, for instance, they would pray to the gods so that that seed that they were planting would yield a good harvest later on. And while they were harvesting, there would also be a different ritual to thank the gods for a good harvest. However, with the introduction of the idea of only one God, Christians and Catholics watching this video, I know that it was not originally supposed to have been this way, but unfortunately it was, in the sense that Christianity was very much imposed in Europe, and a lot of times by force.
I don't care what you think, you're going to be Christian from now on.
In a lot of cases, it was that way, unfortunately. For instance, in the land of a part of some of my ancestors, also known as Latvia, yes, I am from a Latvian family. That's where the Enderman comes from. And in the future, I will make a video speaking about my family background, so stay tuned for that. In Latvia, for instance, Latvians watching, you'll know this, Christianity only came into the scene in the early 1200s or something like that. Before that, everyone was honoring multiple gods. So with the imposition of Christianity, and especially in regards to Catholicism, because now we're gonna narrow it down to Portugal, because after all, I am talking about Brazil. So specifically in Portugal, Catholicism was what took root. So the Catholic Church, in order to make people forget about their multiple gods, decided to put the dates which were in honor of Catholic saints in place of the festivities in honor of the gods. However, the time for harvest and the time for planting and the time in which none of the two could be done remained the same. Nature didn't change. In the month of June specifically, there are 3 saints' dates that are celebrated. To this day, by the way, both in Portugal and in Brazil, and if I'm not mistaken, in the other former Portuguese colonies as well. On June 13th is the feast of Saint Anthony, which is the marriage saint. Oh my goodness. And precisely on the month in which from time immemorial marriages would take place. And also in the beginning of May, I also know about the maypole, and I love it, by the way. What a wonderful dance around the maypole. On June 21st is the feast of Saint John, right on the summer solstice. And on June 29th, it is the feast of Saint Peter. So this is why these 3 saints are very much mentioned in June parties everywhere, both in Portugal as well as Brazil. And by the way, this is why, at least in Brazil, there is always a mock wedding which is played out on the June party right before we dance the most traditional June party dance, which is quadrill. Yes, we dance quadrill. You won't see samba anywhere in a June party because it is not the time for that. The time for that is in February. Keep this in mind, please, when you're in Brazil in this time of year, in the months of June, July, and so on. It's a very fun party. I highly recommend that you go to one, and there are those everywhere, even in Rio, but there will not be samba. You will hear quadrill and forró, which both, incidentally, are danced in pairs. And in this mock wedding, at least here in Brazil, everything that shouldn't happen in a wedding happens. The bride gets stolen and then gets brought back. A woman appears that says that the groom can't be married because he already has kids with her. The father of the bride appears drunk. And in regards to the traditional costume, well, what I'm wearing in this video is as traditional as it gets. Other than that, women usually wear dresses. Normally, even though my hat is very feminine, you know, with this lace all around it, it is traditional to wear hats like this, but normally only men wear straw hats and without lace, of course. And in regards to hair, well, this is very traditional. Pigtails, or you can do 2 braids as well if you have the coordination for that, which I don't. Also, what's very traditional is to put patches normally in your pants or in your dress of choice, because you have to remember that these parties are normally tied to agriculture, to farming. So you basically are dressed like farmers, like you've come straight from the farm to the party. And incidentally, farmers are under the hot sun a lot of times. So a lot of people, when they are exposed to the sun for very long periods of time, you know, working the land, what happens? Freckles! So it's customary to put on fake freckles. Nowadays, I know it's trending to get your eyeliner or even henna and put freckles, which look more realistic. But back in my day, when I was a kid, our moms used to get the good old-fashioned eye pencil and put freckles on us like these. And this is exactly what I did. Oh, and there's another very traditional grooming of June parties, which is done both by ladies and by gentlemen, though I don't like that very much. But if you want to do so, you will fit right in. Maybe not in the streets walking to the June party, but in the June party for sure. They normally paint their teeth black with the same eye pencil in order to pretend like they have missing teeth. Oh, I forgot to mention, by the way, that even though the June party is typical of Portugal, it was brought to Brazil with colonization in the 1500s. And already in the 1500s, June parties were being celebrated in Brazil. We put our things into the June party. For instance, in the northern hemisphere, it is the summer solstice. So no one will be wearing jackets or coats or anything remotely like that because it's hot. But here, it's cold during this time. This is why, once again, I'm wearing a jacket. If you want to be traditional once again, denim is very much used in June parties. Also, denim pants are very much used. Or dresses, yes, but if you opt to wear a dress, which normally is either floral or plaid, plaid is king when it comes to June parties, but wear a jacket over it at least while you're not warmed up by dancing. You'll thank me for following this advice. And grandmas and moms all over the world, you'll thank me for giving this advice. And you can see that in this video, I'm not wearing a hat. Otherwise, it would be too loose. It's quite loose on my head because of my pigtails, but here I'm just sitting down. But if I were to be dancing, oh my goodness, it would fly away. I'm wearing a bandana, which is also something very traditional because farmers wear that to keep their hair out of the way, also to keep their hair protected from the sun. It is also something that you can wear to a June party if you really want to get traditional. Also, normally in quadrilles, apart from the person or the song that is playing, there is also someone which is saying the names of the steps that are to be danced by the group. Other than that, some typical foods that you're gonna find in a June party are, well, the caldo verde, because as I mentioned before, it's cold, so nothing like a good soup to warm you up. And you also have sausage on a stick. And also a lot of things with corn. Corn on the cob, curau de milho, which is sweetened corn porridge that you put cinnamon on top. Very yummy. And you have what is called maçã do amor, the love apple. But with this particular one, be careful because it's a candied apple. So the outer part is hard. You might want to be careful not to actually break one of your teeth and end up not needing makeup to seem like you have missing teeth. This concludes this video about the history of June parties in Rio and in Brazil. I hope you liked it, and if you happen to be here in the months of June, July, sometimes even August, I hope that you're able to go to a June party, and if you do so, I hope you'll enjoy the June party that you choose to go to, and most especially, I hope you liked this video, and if you did like this video, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, share this video with as many people as you possibly can so that each time more people may know about the wonders of the wonderful city. And as usually on this channel, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!